Anna Harper stood in the cramped kitchen of her Brooklyn apartment, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the faint lemony tang of cleaning supplies that clung to her hands. The morning sun filtered through the narrow window, casting a soft glow on the worn linoleum floor. She was dressed in a simple gray uniform, her dark hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, ready for another day as a janitor at a downtown office building. To the world, she was just Anna, a quiet, unassuming woman who scrubbed floors and emptied trash cans. But beneath that facade was Diana Blake, the brilliant designer and heir to Blake Enterprises, one of New York's most prestigious fashion empires. For 3 years, Anna had buried her true identity, choosing to live modestly to prove her love for Ethan Coleman, her husband and the CEO of Coleman Group, a rising real estate firm. She wanted to be loved for who she was, not for her wealth or fame, but that choice had come at a steep cost. The apartment was small but tidy, a reflection of Anna's meticulous nature. She moved with purpose, packing a lunch for Ethan grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, and a slice of homemade apple pie, all carefully arranged in a sleek black bento box. Today was their 3rd anniversary, and though her heart ached with the weight of unspoken truths, she hoped this small gesture might soften the growing distance between them. Ethan had been different lately, distracted, his warm smiles replaced by curt nods. Anna knew why. Whispers of Diana Blake, the elusive designer whose creations dominated runways from Paris to Milan, had reached his ears. Ethan was captivated by her reputation, unaware that the woman he dreamed of was the one he came home to each night. As Anna stepped out into the bustling Brooklyn street, the bento box tucked under her arm, she braced herself for the day ahead. The subway ride to Manhattan was a blur of faces and noise, the city's pulse a stark contrast to the quiet storm brewing in her mind. She arrived at Coleman Group's sleek headquarters, a towering glass structure that screamed ambition. The receptionist, a young woman with a sharp bob and sharper eyes, barely glanced at her. "Delivery for Mr. Coleman." She asked, her tone clipped, assuming Anna was a courier. Anna shook her head, forcing a smile. "No, I'm his wife. I brought his lunch." The receptionist's eyebrows shot up a flicker of surprise, quickly masked by indifference. "Oh, right. He's in a meeting. You can leave it here." Anna hesitated, then set the bento box on the counter, her fingers lingering on the smooth surface. "Could you make sure he gets it?" she asked softly. The receptionist nodded, already turning back to her computer. Anna turned to leave, but a familiar voice stopped her cold. "Anna, what are you doing here?" It was Margaret Coleman, Ethan's mother, her perfectly coiffed hair and tailored suit, a stark contrast to Anna's plain uniform. Margaret's eyes narrowed, scanning Anna with the same disdain she'd shown since the day they met. "I brought Ethan his lunch," Anna said, holding her ground despite the knot in her stomach. Margaret snorted, her lips curling. "Lunch? You think my son needs your little homemade scraps? He's running a multi-million-dollar company, not some corner deli. Honestly, Anna, you're embarrassing him." The words stung, but Anna had heard them before. Margaret had never approved of her calling her a nobody from nowhere who didn't belong in their world. To Margaret, Anna was a mistake Ethan had made, a temporary lapse in judgment. Before Anna could respond, Sophia Coleman, Ethan's younger sister, appeared, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "Oh, look, it's the cleaning lady," Sophia said with a smirk, her voice dripping with mockery. "What's in the box?" "Anna, leftovers from your janitor break room," Sophia's friends, a pair of impeccably dressed women, giggled behind her. Anna's cheeks burned, but she kept her voice steady. "It's for Ethan. It's our anniversary." Sophia rolled her eyes. "Anniversary? Please. Ethan's got bigger things to worry about. Like, say, landing a deal with Blake Enterprises." You know Diana Blake. The designer everyone's talking about, that's the kind of woman he should be with, not someone who smells like bleach. The laughter that followed cut deeper than Anna expected, but she refused to let them see her flinch. She left the building, the weight of their words pressing against her chest. The city buzzed around her, oblivious to her turmoil. Anna had chosen this life, this anonymity, to build something real with Ethan. When they met 4 years ago at a charity event, he'd been charming, ambitious, and kind, or so she thought. She hadn't told him she was Diana Blake, wanting to be loved for herself, not her status. They married quickly, and Anna moved into his world, taking on the role of a devoted wife. She cooked, cleaned, and supported his dreams, all while quietly managing Blake Enterprises from the shadows, delegating her public duties to trusted associates. But Ethan had changed, his admiration for her fading as his obsession with Diana Blake grew. He didn't know the woman he idolized was the one he dismissed daily. Back at the apartment, Anna sank onto the couch, her uniform still on the bento box's absence, a silent rebuke. Her phone buzzed and she saw a text from Ethan. Meeting ran late. Won't be home for dinner. Don't wait up. No mention of their anniversary. No thank you for the lunch. She stared at the message, her heart sinking. She'd spent years proving her love, but it was never enough. The Coleman family saw her as a burden, a country girl who'd somehow tricked their golden boy into marriage. Margaret had even suggested more than once that Anna sign divorce papers to free Ethan for someone better. And now Ethan himself seemed to agree. The next day, Anna arrived at Coleman Group again, this time with a thermos of homemade soup. She'd barely stepped into the lobby when Margaret intercepted her. Again, with the food, Margaret snapped, her voice echoing in the sleek space. Anna, you're pathetic. Ethan doesn't need your charity. He's meeting with investors today, people who matter. Why don't you go back to your mops and buckets? Anna's grip tightened on the thermos, but she kept her composure. I just want to support him, she said quietly. Margaret laughed, a cold, cutting sound. Support? You're a liability. Ethan's got his eyes on Diana Blake now. She's the kind of woman who can elevate him, not drag him down like you do. Anna's heart pounded, but she refused to let Margaret see her pain. She set the thermos on the receptionist's desk and walked away, her steps steady, despite the storm inside her. Diana Blake. The name followed her like a shadow, a cruel irony. She'd created that persona to separate her work from her personal life, but now it was tearing her marriage apart. Ethan had been talking about Diana for weeks, raving about her designs, her brilliance, her untouchable aura. He didn't know the sketches he admired were drawn by the woman he barely noticed anymore. That evening, Anna sat alone in their apartment, the silence heavy. She pulled out her sketchbook, her fingers tracing the lines of a new dress design, a flowing red gown that screamed confidence and power. It was for the upcoming Blake Enterprises fashion show in Manhattan, an event that would draw the city's elite. Anna had planned to attend as Diana Blake, her first public appearance in years. She'd kept her identity hidden for so long, but the constant humiliation from the Colemans was eroding her resolve. She loved Ethan, but love wasn't enough when it came with contempt. Her phone rang, jolting her from her thoughts. It was her mentor, James Levine, a veteran designer who'd guided her since her teens. Anna, or should I say Diana, he said, his voice warm but teasing. The show's in 2 weeks. You ready to step out of the shadows? Anna hesitated, her eyes drifting to a photo of her and Ethan on their wedding day, both smiling like the world was theirs. I don't know, James, she admitted. I've been Anna for so long. What if I tell him who I am and he still chooses Diana over me? James sighed. Then he's a fool, and you're better off without him. You're not just Diana Blake, Anna. You're a force. Don't let anyone make you feel less." The call ended, but James's words lingered. Anna looked at the red gown sketch, her resolve hardening. She'd spent 3 years dimming her light to fit into Ethan's world, but that was over. The fashion show would be her moment. She'd walk out as Diana Blake, not to win Ethan back, but to reclaim herself. If he couldn't love her for who she was, she'd let him go, even if it broke her heart. The days leading up to the show were a blur of work and preparation. Anna juggled her janitorial shifts with late-night calls to her team at Blake Enterprises, finalizing details for the event. She avoided Ethan as much as possible, his indifference making it easier. One evening, she overheard him on the phone, his voice animated. Diana Blake's team reached out. "They want to meet about a potential partnership. This could be huge for Coleman Group." Anna's stomach twisted. He was chasing her shadow, oblivious to the woman standing right in front of him. The night before the show, Anna stood in her bedroom staring at the red gown now hanging in her closet. It was a masterpiece, every stitch a testament to her talent. She'd designed it to make a statement, to show the world and herself who she really was. Ethan came home late. His tie loosened, his eyes distant. "Big day tomorrow," he said, barely looking at her. "I might meet Diana Blake. Can you imagine? She's a game changer." Anna forced a smile, her heart heavy. "I hope she's everything you expect," she said softly. Ethan didn't notice the edge in her voice, already turning away to answer a call. As he spoke in hushed tones, Anna made a decision. Tomorrow at the fashion show, she'd reveal the truth. Not for Ethan, not for the Colemans, but for herself. She was done being invisible. The world would see Diana Blake, and Anna Harper would finally step into the light. The air in Manhattan's grand ballroom buzzed with anticipation, the chandeliers casting a golden glow over the elite, gathered for Blake Enterprises' annual fashion show. Anna Harper stood backstage, her heart pounding as she adjusted the red gown that hugged her frame like a second skin. The fabric shimmered under the lights, a bold statement of her talent as Diana Blake, the designer whose name was on everyone's lips. Tonight, she would step out of the shadows, not as Anna, the overlooked wife, but as Diana, the visionary who'd built an empire. Her hands trembled slightly as she touched up her makeup, her reflection in the mirror showing a woman transformed, confident, radiant, and ready to reclaim her identity. But beneath the polished exterior, a storm of emotions churned. She was about to face Ethan Coleman, her soon-to-be ex-husband, and his family, who'd spent years belittling her. The thought of their shock fueled her resolve, but a small part of her still ached for the love she'd once hoped to find with Ethan. Backstage was a whirlwind of activity models darting between racks, stylists shouting last-minute instructions, and assistants clutching clipboards. Anna's mentor, James Levine, found her amidst the chaos, his silver hair catching the light as he gave her a reassuring nod. "You've got this, Diana," he said, using her true name with a knowing smile. "Show them who you are." Anna exhaled, steadying herself. "I'm not sure if I'm doing this for them or for me," she admitted. James squeezed her shoulder. "It's for you. Always has been. Now go own that stage." His words anchored her, and she nodded, stepping toward the curtain as the show's opening music swelled. Outside, the audience was a sea of New York's elite fashion critics, celebrities, and business moguls, all eager to see Diana Blake's latest collection. Ethan Coleman sat near the front, his tailored suit impeccable, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of the elusive designer. Beside him, his mother, Margaret, whispered excitedly about the potential partnership with Blake Enterprises, while Sophia, his sister, scrolled through her phone, smirking at a notification. "Diana Blake's team just confirmed a meeting with us tomorrow," Sophia said, her voice smug. "This is our ticket to the big leagues, Ethan." Ethan nodded, but his expression was distracted. He'd been trying to reach Diana's team for weeks, hoping to secure a collaboration that could elevate Coleman Group to new heights. Little did he know, the woman he was chasing was the one he'd dismissed for years. As the lights dimmed and the first model strutted down the runway, the crowd hushed, captivated by the bold designs, vibrant silks, daring cuts, and intricate embroidery that told stories of resilience and beauty. Anna watched from the wings, her heart swelling with pride. These were her creations, born from late nights sketching in her Brooklyn apartment, while Ethan slept oblivious to her talent. But the moment of truth was coming. The finale dress, her red gown, was next, and she would walk out wearing it, revealing herself as Diana Blake. When the music shifted to a dramatic crescendo, Anna stepped onto the runway, the spotlight catching the fiery red of her gown. The crowd gasped, then erupted in applause, mesmerized by the design and the woman wearing it. Ethan's jaw dropped, his eyes locked on her, confusion flickering across his face. Margaret leaned forward, her brows furrowing, while Sophia's phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. "That's Anna," Sophia whispered, her voice laced with disbelief. Ethan shook his head as if trying to reconcile the radiant figure before him with the quiet wife he knew. Anna held her head high, her steps confident, her gaze sweeping over the audience without lingering on Ethan. She was Diana Blake, and she was done hiding. Backstage after the show, the energy was electric. Reporters swarmed, clamoring for interviews, while industry insiders showered Anna with praise. She navigated the crowd with grace, accepting compliments and deflecting questions about her personal life. But the moment she'd been dreading arrived when Ethan pushed through the throng, his face a mix of awe and suspicion. "Anna, what the hell is going on?" he demanded, his voice low but intense. "Why are you here wearing that dress? Are you working for Diana Blake?" Anna met his gaze, her expression cool. "I'm not working for anyone, Ethan. I am Diana Blake." The words hung in the air, and Ethan's face paled, his mouth opening and closing, as he struggled to process her revelation. Before he could respond, Margaret and Sophia appeared, their faces twisted with indignation. "This is absurd," Margaret snapped, her voice carrying over the buzz of the crowd. "You're a janitor, Anna. You think you can fool us by pretending to be Diana Blake? This is pathetic." Sophia chimed in, her tone venomous. "Yeah, what's next? You're gonna say you own Blake Enterprises." "Get real." Anna's lips curved into a faint smile, unshaken. "Believe what you want," she said calmly. "But the designs you saw tonight, they're mine. The company you're so desperate to partner with, that's mine too." She turned to walk away, but Sophia grabbed her arm, her nails digging in. "You're a liar," Sophia hissed, "and I'll prove it." The next day, the fallout began. Sophia, a budding designer herself, had been pitching her own collection to Blake Enterprises, hoping to ride Diana's coattails. But a scandal erupted when a fashion blog posted evidence that Sophia's designs were strikingly similar to unreleased sketches from Anna's studio. The accusation of plagiarism spread like wildfire, trending on social media and drawing scrutiny to Coleman Group. Ethan called an emergency meeting at their headquarters, pacing the boardroom as his team scrambled to control the damage. "This can't be true," he muttered, staring at the incriminating sketches on his tablet. Sophia wouldn't steal. She's not that reckless. But doubt gnawed at him. He'd seen Anna on that runway, commanding the room, with a confidence he'd never noticed in her before. Could she really be Diana Blake, desperate for answers? Ethan tracked Anna to a cafe in Soho where she was meeting with James Levine to discuss the scandal. She sat by the window, her red dress swapped for a simple blazer and jeans, but her presence was no less commanding. Ethan approached, his voice hesitant. "Anna, we need to talk." "Is it true, are you Diana?" Anna sipped her coffee, her eyes steady. "I told you last night, Ethan. I've been Diana all along. You just never saw me." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. "Why didn't you tell me 3 years, Anna? 3 years! And you let me think you were just nobody." Her gaze hardened. "I wanted you to love me, for me, not for my name or my money. But you made it clear I wasn't enough. You wanted Diana Blake, not Anna Harper." Ethan flinched, her words cutting deep. "I didn't know," he said, his voice softer now. "I thought Diana was someone else. Someone who could take Coleman Group to the next level." Anna laughed, a bitter edge to it. "And what am I? Ethan, a stepping stone. You and your family treated me like dirt, and now you want to partner with my company. That's not happening." She stood brushing past him, but Ethan grabbed her wrist. "Wait! What about Sophia? Did you set her up with this plagiarism thing?" Anna pulled free, her expression cold. "I didn't need to. Sophia's designs speak for themselves. If you want to save her, you'd better start looking at the evidence." The scandal grew, with major fashion outlets picking up the story. Sophia's reputation crumbled, and Coleman Group's stock took a hit, as investors questioned the family's integrity. Margaret, furious, confronted Anna outside Blake Enterprises' headquarters, her face red with rage. "You did this!" she screamed, drawing stares from passers-by. "You framed my daughter to get back at us. You're nothing but a vindictive little nobody." Anna stood her ground, her voice calm but firm. "Margaret, I've spent 3 years taking your insults. I'm done. Your daughter's actions caught up with her, and so will yours, if you keep this up." Margaret sputtered, but Anna walked away, her head high, leaving the older woman fuming in the street. That night, Anna sat in her apartment, the city skyline glittering through her window. Her phone buzzed with messages from James, her team, and even a few sympathetic colleagues who'd heard about the scandal. But one message stood out, a text from Ethan. "I need to see you. I was wrong. Please, let's talk." Anna stared at the words, her heart torn. Part of her wanted to believe he could change, that he could see her for who she was. But the years of neglect, the constant disdain from his family, weighed heavier. She deleted the message, her resolve firming. She wasn't Anna Harper, the invisible wife, anymore. She was Diana Blake, and she had a legacy to protect. As she prepared for a trip to Los Angeles for a charity auction where she'd fully embrace her identity as Diana. Anna felt a weight lift. The fashion show had been her first step, but the journey wasn't over. Ethan and his family would face the consequences of their actions, and Anna would face her future not as a victim, but as a woman in control of her destiny. The world was about to see Diana Blake in all her glory, and Anna was ready to shine. The Los Angeles skyline glittered under the evening sun, its golden rays reflecting off the glass facade of the Beverly Hills Hotel, where the city's elite gathered for the annual Blake Enterprises charity auction. Anna Harper, now fully embracing her identity as Diana Blake, stood in the hotel's grand suite, adjusting the delicate silver necklace that complemented her emerald green gown. The dress, another of her own designs, flowed like liquid silk, its subtle shimmer catching the light with every movement. Tonight was more than an event. It was her moment to step fully into the spotlight, not just as a designer, but as a woman who'd reclaimed her worth. The weight of 3 years of hidden identity, of enduring the Coleman family's scorn, had lifted, replaced by a quiet strength. She was ready to face the world, and perhaps more dauntingly, Ethan Coleman, who still clung to the illusion that Diana Blake was someone other than his ex-wife. Downstairs, the ballroom buzzed with anticipation. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables adorned with white orchids, and the air hummed with the chatter of fashion moguls, philanthropists, and Hollywood stars. Anna's auction was a highlight of the season, with proceeds funding scholarships for aspiring designers from underserved communities, a cause close to her heart. She'd spent weeks curating the items, including a rare sapphire pendant she'd designed herself, symbolizing resilience and renewal. As she descended the grand staircase, her presence commanded the room. Heads turned, whispers rippled, and cameras flashed. "That's Diana Blake," someone murmured, and Anna felt a surge of pride. She was no longer the invisible Anna Harper scrubbing floors to prove her love. She was Diana, and she was unstoppable. Ethan Coleman sat near the stage, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning the crowd. He'd flown to LA on a hunch, desperate to meet Diana Blake and salvage the partnership his company had lost after Sophia's plagiarism scandal. Beside him, Margaret Coleman adjusted her pearl earrings, her expression a mix of determination and disdain. "This is our chance, Ethan," she whispered. "If you can charm Diana, we can fix everything. Sophia's mess, the stock drop, all of it." Sophia, still reeling from the public humiliation of her exposed designs, sat sullenly, her phone clutched tightly. "She's not going to forgive us," Sophia muttered. "Not after what happened." Ethan ignored her, his mind racing. He'd been replaying Anna's words from the Manhattan fashion show, "I am Diana Blake." The idea still seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. The designs, the confidence, the way she'd owned that runway. He needed to see her to understand how he'd been so blind. As the auction began, Anna took the stage, her voice clear and steady as she welcomed the guests. "Thank you all for being here," she said, her smile warm but resolute. "Tonight isn't just about beautiful things. It's about creating opportunities for those who've been overlooked, who've been told they don't belong. At Blake Enterprises, we believe talent knows no boundaries, and we're here to lift up the next generation of dreamers." The crowd applauded, moved by her passion. Anna's eyes swept the room, pausing briefly on Ethan. His gaze locked with hers, a mix of shock and regret flickering across his face. She looked away, focusing on the auctioneer as the first item, a vintage Blake Enterprises gown, went up for bidding. The night progressed smoothly, with bids climbing into the millions. Anna moved through the crowd, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries, her poise unshaken even when Margaret approached her, her smile forced. "Miss Blake." Margaret said, her tone syrupy. "What a stunning event. Coleman Group would love to discuss a collaboration. We could do wonders together." Anna's lips curved slightly, but her eyes were steel. "Mrs. Coleman, I appreciate your interest, but my company chooses partners who share our values: integrity, respect, and honesty. I'm not sure that's a fit." Margaret's face reddened, but before she could respond, Anna excused herself, leaving the older woman sputtering. Ethan caught up with her near the bar, his expression a tangle of emotions. "Anna, Diana, I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and urgent. Anna turned, her posture calm but guarded. "There's nothing to say, Ethan. You made your choice when you signed the divorce papers." He shook his head, stepping closer. "I didn't know it was you. If I'd known you were Diana Blake, I never would have." Anna cut him off, her voice sharp. That's the problem, Ethan. You didn't love me. For me, you loved the idea of Diana Blake. The name, the status. I gave you 3 years of my life, and you and your family treated me like I was nothing. Ethan's shoulders slumped, his voice breaking. I was wrong. I see that now. Can't we try again? I'll make it right. Anna's heart ached, but she held firm. You don't get to rewrite the past. I'm done being your invisible wife. Before Ethan could respond, a commotion erupted near the stage. Sophia, fueled by desperation and anger, had grabbed a microphone. Her voice shrill as she addressed the crowd. This woman is a fraud, she shouted, pointing at Anna. She's not Diana Blake. She's just my brother's ex-wife, a nobody who's been lying to all of you. Gasps rippled through the room, and all eyes turned to Anna. She stepped forward, unfazed, her voice steady as she took the microphone from Sophia. I understand your confusion. Miss Coleman, she said, her tone calm but commanding. For 3 years I lived as Anna Harper, hiding my identity to build a life based on love, not status. But I am Diana Blake, and I've been her all along. If you doubt me, ask my mentor, James Levine, or check the patents on every design Blake Enterprises has produced. They're all mine. James Levine stepped onto the stage, his presence lending weight to her words. I've known Diana since she was a teenager, he said, his voice firm. She's the heart and soul of Blake Enterprises, and anyone who says otherwise is either mistaken or malicious. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement, others whispering in shock. Sophia's face crumpled, and she fled the stage humiliated. Margaret followed, her head bowed, while Ethan stood frozen, the reality of his mistake sinking in. As the auction resumed, Anna announced the final item, the sapphire pendant. This piece, she said, holding it up, represents starting over, finding strength in adversity. I designed it for anyone who's ever been underestimated, who's ever had to fight to be seen. The bidding soared, reaching $10 million. With the winning bid, coming from a young designer, Anna had mentored, a symbol of the cycle of support she was fostering. The crowd erupted in applause, and Anna felt a tear slip down her cheek, not from sadness, but from pride. After the event, Anna stood on the hotel's rooftop terrace, the city sprawling beneath her. James joined her, handing her a glass of champagne. You did it, he said, his eyes warm. You showed them all. Anna smiled, but her thoughts were elsewhere. I didn't do it for them, James. I did it for me. And for every kid out there who's been told they're not enough. She thought of the scholarship fund already growing from the night's proceeds. It was her way of giving back, of ensuring others wouldn't have to hide their light, as she had. Ethan approached, his expression heavy with regret. Diana, I'm sorry, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't see you. I was blind, and I lost you because of it. Anna met his gaze, her heart steady. You didn't lose me, Ethan. You never had me, not really. You saw what you wanted to see, a name, a status. I deserve someone who sees me. She turned away, leaving him standing alone, the weight of his choices settling over him like a shadow. The next day, headlines buzzed with the revelation of Diana Blake's true identity, praising her resilience and talent. Coleman Group's reputation took another hit as Sophia faced legal action for plagiarism, and Ethan stepped back from public life, grappling with his mistakes. Anna, meanwhile, threw herself into her work, launching a mentorship program for young designers. She spoke at schools, sharing her story, not to boast, but to teach. Don't let anyone define your worth, she told a group of students in Brooklyn, her voice ringing with conviction. Your value isn't in your name, your background, or what others think of you. It's in what you create, how you treat others, and how you rise when the world tries to push you down. As she walked through the city, the weight of her past life lifted. Anna felt free. She'd lost a marriage, but she'd gained herself. The lesson was clear: true worth comes from within, and no amount of wealth or status can replace authenticity and kindness. For every young designer she mentored, for every door she opened, Anna was building a legacy not just of fashion, but of hope, resilience, and the courage to be seen.